We got a couple of overzealous -3s, and that might be a little generous. Just making the public school system look even worse than it actually is. Listen, I did K through 12 through the public school system, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. Current state of it, and I got out before most of the woke shit crept in. And if you got kids that age, if you can homeschool them or if you can send them to private school, it's not that much more expensive. It's not that much of a burden. Please do consider it, because you have crazy mothers out there that are just going to try and do anything. Kind of like what the headline says here, and it's even worse than the BBC has it framed. Mother used deep fakes to frame cheerleading rivals. Well, what did she do? And what is a deep fake? Well, you've probably seen a couple of the videos circulate around, but it's basically taking the voice and the face of somebody else and running it through a video program in order to make the video seem like that person is doing something different and it's at least passable, but most of the technology out there doesn't quite pass the uncanny valley test. It's really close, but everything just kind of looks a little janky. There's some unhinged movements that just kind of are a little bit unsettling if you do your due diligence. So here's what this bitch tried to do. A mother allegedly used explicit deepfake photos and videos to try to get her teenage daughter's cheerleading rivals kicked off the team. I hope to God her daughter is a mix-up at the hospital, because, oh my God. Either that or she is the base of the pyramid at the cheerleading squad. Raffaela Spone, sure, from Pennsylvania, reportedly sent the content which showed members of the Victory Vipers team naked, drinking, and smoking. So she had a deepfake video, pictures too, of underage school kids. It doesn't say what age they are, but I could only imagine high school at best. So most of those kids would be 17, 16, maybe some of them are 18. I highly doubt it. Naked, drinking, and smoking. So at least two of those things are illegal. One of those is probably illegal to possess. Deepfakes use artificial intelligence to doctor images and videos. Mrs. Spoon, sorry, I feel bad for her husband, has been charged with multiple counts of harassment. I feel like there should be a stronger penalty for that. And I know that we're just getting at the onset of deep fakes and try to use that to create scenarios in order to punish people who unjustly would be charged with such a crime. I feel like the charges should be higher. What they should be, I don't want to speculate because I don't want it to be held against me, but I feel like if you're trying to convict somebody of a crime, you should be charged with that crime. Something to do, especially in this scenario, if any of the kids are underage. I think you know where I'm leaning on that one. She is also accused of sending abusive messages to the team, their parents, and owners of the cheerleading gym using fake phone numbers. So this bitch is wholeheartedly vindictive. I couldn't imagine why. Probably because her kid bears a strong resemblance to her. Maybe has sturdy shoulders and believes her daughter should be one of the kids being thrown up in the air instead of one of the kids catching her. The Hilltown Township Police Department in Bucks County said it believed her daughter was unaware of the alleged incidents. Well, okay. If her mom's raising a ruckus and she's on the cheer squad, I think that there's a good chance that you probably knew something was up. So I got to press X to doubt on that one. One of the victim's parents contacted police in July saying their daughter had received harassing text messages from an anonymous number. Two more families later came forward after receiving similar messages. If you guys played any organized sport throughout any of your time in high school or even junior high school, there was always that one overzealous mother who thought that they knew everything, who thought that they needed to be involved with everything, made everything about themselves. It was annoying. I'm sure it was probably annoying if you were those kids, thinking that their kid is better than they actually are, thinking that they deserve a starting position. They should just have to get off that bench, thinking that they should be at the front of the photography for the team photo. Just an annoying broad. That's not really conducive. It's just not exclusive, I should say, to public schooling, but this is the case where it happens. The fact that these kids could have been kicked off the team based on some psychopath's behavior, it sets a precedent, right? That this technology is out there, keeps getting better, and instead of, thankfully, at least this team did some work because they, also got the authorities involved and they did some IP tracing, and it went back to Mrs. Spoon's home, so she wasn't even smart enough to outsource the technology. I'd imagine these deep fakes were really fucking sus. But these people will do anything to combat their rivals. If they have a target in mind, nothing is outside their moral purview, if it were, okay? If you think that your daughter, your son, is being unjustly treated, well, nothing's off the table, right? Including creating a list, an actual list, like we're talking Schindler here, getting your political rivals, or at least who you perceive to be your political rivals, and plot their takeout. That's why we preface this article with the previous one, showing that there are no tactics to take out people who you perceive might be a threat. And when you're the size of this ham beast, the only thing that is threatening is probably green leafy vegetables. Teachers compile a list of parents who question racial curriculum, plot war on them. That's not even being overly hyperbolic. Infiltrate, shut down their websites, expose these people publicly. A group of current and former teachers and others in Loudoun County, Virginia, compiled a lengthy list of parents suspected of disagreeing with school system actions, including its teaching of controversial racial concepts, with a stated purpose in part to infiltrate, to use hackers, employ that great hacker 4chan, I'd imagine, to silence parents' communications and to expose them publicly. The member of the member private Facebook group called Anti-Racist Parents of Loudoun County named parents and plotted fundraising and other offline work. Some used pseudonyms, but the Daily Wire has identified them as a who's who of affluent jurisdiction outside D.C., including schools, staff, and elected officials. The Sheriff's Criminal Investigation Division is reviewing the matter, but the group's activities might be no surprise to top law enforcement officers. The county prosecutors narrowly elected with the help of an $845,000 in cash from George Soros, appears to be a member of the Facebook group. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Of course, whenever something terrible like this comes up, George Soros is inevitably behind it. The school system then withdrew a policy that would ban teachers from disagreeing with the school's racial philosophies, even when not on school district property. What? On January 2020, the school board's equity committee voted unanimously to offer/provide equity in a center-like training to parents. How about no? Now, as school-backed efforts to change the thinking of adults seemingly succeeded, the community has collapsed into acrimony. A criminal review has been opened, and a school board member has been stripped of her duties. What follows is a story of the wealthiest county in America, suburb of Washington, D.C., by the way. So if you've ever wondered why, here's a small example of why so many congressmen and women are completely and utterly detached. If they have a little suburb, if they have a little house and they're supposed to maintain residency near enough to Washington, D.C., and if their kids happen to inhabit that, make no mistake, that's why shit like this doesn't seem to be so bad for these individuals. So yes, to reiterate, what follows is the story of the wealthiest county in America descending into a moral panic as a group of suburban white women egged each other to extremes against a perceived evil, while a school system seemed to slide from serving taxpayers to targeting them. So enough with the preamble, let's get into what they're actually doing. The late-stage result of an experiment in saturating kids' education system with the language of torrid oppression looks a lot like Beth Bart's. No, that's not the moon of Jupiter that was up there in the opening picture. That's somebody different who's not photographed via Google Earth in this article. A white 50-year-old former educator who was elected to the school board in 2019. I'd imagine with the help of George Soros as well. Bartz has a reputation for lashing out at parents who either questioned what she calls equity agenda or advanced for the reopening of schools. Of course, because she wants to get money for doing nothing. For her pattern of social media conduct, Bart's colleagues censured her in a closed meeting on March 4th, saying Bart's failed to welcome and encourage active cooperation of Loudoun County residents. And how did she respond? Well, she had one of her surrogates create this unhinged thread. A local mother named Jen Durham began what turned into a massive thread, writing, "This is a call for volunteers to combat the anti-CRT activities of the PACT folks, the Stop LCPS CRT website, and the like. Looking for folks who are interested in volunteering to organize, lead, execute, and donate regarding the following points: gathering information, community mailing lists, lists of folks who are in charge of the anti-CRT movement, lists of local lawmakers, folks in charge. Infiltrate, create fake online profiles, and join these groups to collect and communicate information. Hackers, who can either shut down their websites or redirect them to pro-CRT, anti-racist informational web pages, spread information. Oh boy, does this sound familiar. Expose these people publicly, create online petitions, create counter-mailings, and find a way to gather donations for these efforts. What is Grandpa George just not writing those checks like he used to? Volunteering is great, but these activities can be costly and not everyone has extra funds readily available. Yeah, like outsourcing for deep fake videos and pictures. I wonder. Anyone who is interested in this, please feel free to comment here or PM me directly and indicate what you can help with. Then we can hold a kickoff call and start on action items. Delightful. This is just one example of one county, one very wealthy county, of a bunch of just busybody women who think that they're doing the right thing by indoctrinating their white kids into how racist they are, because that's what CRT is. I don't know if I properly told you guys what this is, critical race theory. That is, long and short of it, is white people are responsible for everything terrible that has happened in the world so far, and that America is founded on a slaveocracy in 1619, sorry. See, public schooling. And white people have been the cause and problem to every single problem in, well, the Western world, if not the greater world itself. It's often paired with neo-Marxist ideas, intersectionality, and it was something that Trump had outlawed from any institution that receives federal funding, and then Joe Biden on his first day or second day immediately rescinded all of this stuff that Trump outlawed so that it can come back in full effect. And now that these idiots have had it deprived from them from a short period of time, just like that little, I don't know, month or month and a half of the quarantine or the lockdown when it first started, when everything kind of seemed like it was gonna go away, all of the rabid feminist theories, the intersectionality theories, everything was just kind of bubbling below the surface. And then Fentanyl Floyd took a fucking dirt nap, and then all of this stuff came back up tenfold. And this is what is happening here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Loudoun County is but the first county to be thoroughly exposed on this one, and I'm glad somebody is, because they're, organizing first names, last names, aliases, locations, phone numbers, spreading information, disinformation, lies about them, trying to get people fired, trying to set people up just because they have wrong thoughts. This is effectively criminalizing wrongthink and getting their kids kicked out of school because of it. This is the next step of cancel culture. It is no longer enough that you go after somebody. No, you have to go after somebody, and then you have to go after their kids. You used to just be able to take away their way to make a living, but now that's not enough. You got to expand out to your family, okay? This is looking an awful lot like how Stalin used to deal with all of his adversaries. It wasn't enough to take out the one person who slighted him. No. You had to take out the generation behind him and the generation ahead of him. Scary shit. Well, COVID already took care of the generation behind everybody, so you just got to go after the kids now. I'm losing any hope that remaining civil towards these people changes anything, she wrote. Avoiding these people isn't enough to stop the spread of their evil rhetoric. Confession through projection. Anyone know any hackers? Yes, because suburban white women are probably just very fluent and definitely have fucking anonymous on speed dial. Members of the anti-racist group sprang into action, listing dozens of parents, often including where they lived, their employers, and their spouses' names. I hate them all. There's nobody to like in this story. And just to wrap up this little subsection, it was Loudoun County that first put Dr. Seuss in the news for de-emphasizing him because of his strong racial undertones. Yeah, like having a rice paddy hat on an Asian. Hutman Lee added a man whose evidence of guilt was a screenshot in which he said he had reviewed a Dr. Seuss book and ask anyone to show me what is racist. See, it doesn't really matter. Their idea of proof is just tacit complicity against something that they deem to be wrong or inhuman or dehumanizing somebody. But it depends. It looks like they haven't caught up on their CRT training yet, because Asians are whites if you're dealing with Harvard admissions. So eventually those two conflicting ideologies are going to have to converge, and you're going to have to figure out what the solution to the Asian question is. Yuck, we'll try to make this quick. The rest of this article is very, very, very interesting, and it's one of the best that I've seen from Daily Wire. I give Ben Shapiro a fair amount of shit, but yeah, his outlet does some good stuff, and Luke Rosiak put out one hell of a good investigative piece there. The rest of it just basically details how teachers are being incentivized in a monetary fashion in order to further inculcate the students with the CRT, the intersectionality training, all of that stuff, and how it's been going on for a while. So I'm glad somebody finally came out because of this, because the more cancel culture goes on, the more it's definitely starting to look like a Stalinist or a Maoist redux, and kind of like a malignant tumor. You gotta catch it early before it spreads. And that's the last thing I want that ham beast to do. With that said, guys, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.